presentation, I will offer an overview and a theoretical basis of theater forms, where in the work with the actors in the directing, self-emptying becomes the basis of a new approach, imitatio Christi, and not simply in a theological or ethical sense, but also as an aesthetic application of kenosis to theater. Not denying other Far Eastern sources of inspiration, as for example the Taoist term of emptiness, I would enumerate some theatrical practices where self-emptying becomes an important element in the direction of actors, so in the work with the actors, and in which the Christian theological term of kenosis is relevant in connection of rituals taking place on stage. According to Christian theologies, ekenosen, literally means emptiness, is a primary action of self-revelation of the Trinitarian God. It also means self-emptying of one's own will and becoming entirely receptive to God's divine will. The verb ekenosen is used in the letter to Philippians 2:7 as follows: Jesus made himself nothing, or he emptied himself, using the word from keno, to empty. So the whole 3 verses is rather he made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness, and being found in appearance as a man. He humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, even to death on a cross. Therefore God exalted him to the highest place and gave him the name that is above every name. In his commentaries written to this letter, Calvin highlights the following: that following the Christ also means self-abasement in connection with kenosis for humankind. Compared to other authors, Xavier Tilliet, Chemnitz, Hans Urs von Balthasar, he has a different understanding of kenosis, which is not a self-diminution or the abandoning of his divine nature, but keeping it hidden. Crypsis in Greek. In his church dogmatics, Karl Barth refers to the Latin text of Calvin's Institutio by saying that the incarnation of Christ does not mean any kind of confinement, because even in his self-abasement, he does not cease to be God's Son. Here you are the quotation: the word ekenosen in Philippians 2:7 certainly does not mean this, so it will not diminish. It says that being in the form of God, enjoying it freely, disposing of it, he carried through a self-emptying, that is, he took the form of a servant. The kenosis consists in a renunciation of his being in the form of God alone. As God, therefore, he could be known only to himself, but unknown as such in the world and for the world. It's enough from the quotation. To sum up the theological introduction, we can say that imitatio Christi means also the possibility of repeating kenosis, being created as images of Christ, means also for humankind a condescension and a deconstruction of the human idol, human images, and its exaltation. On the other hand, the word imitation suggests that there is some volitional act in this. In his work entitled Systematic Theology, Paul Tillich distinguishes four ways of self-salvation: the legalistic, törvényeskedő, the ascetic, the mystic, and the sacramental dogmatic emotional ways. The sacramental presence of God is the opposite of self-salvation. Tillich says in the conclusion of this chapter, quotation is here. I don't know why the screen is not entirely receptive of the slide. Maybe because it was the same for this that we could, maybe Adam could help us. It's not normal. I see the whole slide. So, Tillich says, the mere performance of the accepted rites or the mere participation in a sacramental act is considered to have saving power. The sacrament is given, and as such, it is understood to negate self-salvation. But the way in which it is used opens wide the door for a self-saving attitude. So that is an important idea in connection to the application, for example, of the term kenosis to theater and the direction of the actor, not being a form of self-salvation. Apart from some allusions and references in Balthazar and Tillich's works, scholarly literature does not discuss the connection between kenosis and literature or kenosis and theater, apart from two exceptions where the authors use the adjectival form of the word kenotic in a metaphorical sense, not in the theological complexity of the term. So it is not discussed, if it's not for the Japanese theologian Kazuo Kitamori, who in his book entitled Theology of the Pain of God presents the analogy of the father and son conflict, it has the father sacrificing his son in traditional kabuki theater in order to explain God's hatred of sin and love felt towards humankind, which are unified in the pain of God sacrificing his son on the cross. So that is the only example of an allusion I found. So now I would like to speak about it's better like this, without the mind. I would like to speak about the theatrical forms and trainings. The revolution of the ritualistic theater, which happened in Europe in the second half of the 60s, is connected primarily to Jerzy Grotowski. It called the attention of the most significant European theater makers to the Far East, to the so-called archaic forms of theater. While Peter Brook and Eugenio Barba had reformed Western theater by researching the archaic forms of the theater, Grotowski had in turn been establishing the foundations of actor pedagogy, which has been in use up to present day and is applied in theatrical practice. In the course of his work with Grisard Chesler, Grotowski introduced the notion of the empty vessel, as the actor must arrive at the condition of emptiness in order to be able to carry transcendency. The aim of the physical training is to achieve this condition by reaching out to and training the maximal boundaries of the body. Oh. It's an extract from the...
One can increase the number of details and exercises. Step by step one can discover others. One can begin exercises of any type. It is not the form of the initial details and exercises which is important, but the spirit of things. That which is difficult and is the result of hard work and a professional conscience will often, in the hands of a charlatan, become transformed into a sort of plasma, into something which can be obtained immediately, in the easiest possible way, in the hope that miraculous recipes exist that can free us from all our problems. There is always and everywhere this need and this false hope that there exist recipes which can resolve all creative problems. Such recipes do not exist.
Edgar Bauer stated in his work Tadeusz Kantor of Chematic Theatrology and the Reality of the Lowest Rank, contemporary theoreticians and historians of religion have paid little or no attention to the complex linkage between religious belief and artistic creation as can be perceived in some conceptual works. While Artaud set the paradigms of a religious critic aiming at en finir avec le jugement de Dieu in order to prepare the eruption of a non-theistic revelation, Brooks stressed that it is not the fault of the holy that it has become a middle-class weapon to keep children good. Today, this issue is sacrificed on the table of politics. Between these three positions, there is a vast and mostly unexplored area of research in which transcendent quests take place in the several practices. Significantly, in a country like Poland, so deeply marked by the conflicting worldviews of Catholicism and communism, Tadeusz Kantor and Jerzy Grotowski made major contributions to the theatrical avant-garde. Grotowski, Kantor's younger colleague, created a so-called poor theater, characterized by its search for a secularized sacrum and demanding. Az a bajunk, hogy nem látjuk a teljes szlájdot. And demanding from its actor the sort of total commitment usually expected from saintly men in traditional religions. So that's why he's speaking about being a secular saint. And Brisson also uses this term in this letter I published in my French and Hungarian book. Instead of the mercantile attitude of actors trying to sell themselves to public, Grotowski propounded an aesthetic via negativa of acting by elimination. He demanded of the actors that they take off the mask of everyday life and perform an act of total self-revelation. Offering himself as an absolute gift, the Grotowskian actor constitutes the antithesis of the prostitute, with whom nonetheless he has been identified for centuries. For Grotowski, who was well acquainted with India's philosophical traditions, the actor's mission is to embody a complete abandonment to something impossible to name. But on the other hand, Christian traditions were also present in his work in the Prince Constant or the Apocalypsis cum figuris, as well as in Kantor's work, Via Lopole, or in Zero's theater. This is also, yes, there is a quotation from Zero Theater of Kantor. Theater, which I have called a zero theater, does not refer to a ready-made zero situation. Its essence lies in the process leading towards emptiness and zero ones. This process means dismembering of logical plot structures, building up scenes, not by textual reference, but by reference to associations triggered by them, jungling with chance or junk, dissection of plot, decomposition of acting, by acting poorly, acting on the slide, acting, non-acting. So in this acting poorly, this is Grotowski's heritage, Grotowski's idea, not heritage. And non-acting is also the Far Eastern tradition, but not only. I would like to, in the book I speak also about Vargas practice, and even more about Cantor's theater. But now I would like to continue with Valerio Marina, who was my original topic. And last week I he invited me to Paris, and I saw his last performance entitled "A Man Out of Him," an old orderly. And in his library, I discovered Cantor's works. So I was very happy to see that after having written the book, I could be physically. I could physically prove that Cantor was important for him, as well as Grotowski. The organic theater, to use Grotowski's term, which he pronounced in his inaugurational conference at the Collège de France in '81, organic theater tries to reach via negativa the state in which the actor is a vehicle, an empty vessel ready to take and to carry transcendence. The debate on sacrality in Europe and America and the increasing interest in ritual outside Europe compelled 20th century artists to abandon traditional theater and the classical dramatic text. Valerio Marina's writing practice, for example, breaks with the traditional drama text and becomes a linguistic sync. Actors complain that, I quote, actors in France no longer know how to do anything but speak, is reflected in Novarina's aim at articulatory cruelty, linguistic carnage, for example. Novarina represents the contemporary French language in its state of mutation, distortion, and transformation. His theatrical practice and the theater revealed in his essays focus on the act of the creative burned and revived by the actor who lends his or herself to action, the hidden liturgy of the word, the logos, in space. Man created after God's own image becomes a creator through the logos, through the word. For the self-emptying and abandonment of the ego of the actor, a text by Novarina entitled Work for the Uncertain, a title borrowed from Pascal, could serve as an example. Novarina reformulates this image of the actor in several ways, in several texts. He said, "Perfect actor is nothing. He is nul et parfait, nothing and perfect." So here you have the quotation from the only English book which was published, which was translated from his work, the Theatre of Ears. It's an enclosure where we come to see the actor thrown onto the stage, forcefully and alone, wrenching himself away from himself, always like a blind one, a foreigner, an exile, as if fallen from his true place. He speaks like an animal surprised by the very act of speaking. We come to the theater to take fright with the actor, relive our entry into the incomprehensible body along with him, to breathe through another, to recapture the taste for living words. Virta mentioned Lehmann's post-dramatic theater, so I just checked what he has written about Novarina. So he speaks about Novarina's work in 2 sentences only in the chapter Body, about the body in post-dramatic theater. And he says that the actor does not form dramatis personae, but it's rather the decomposition of the man which is happening on stage. So there is a certain anamorphism in the reception of this theater. But anamorphism is a term used by the art history. If you remember shoulders, there is a skull on it, and there is only from one angle that this skull becomes a real skull. In other ways, from other optic, it is just a distortion for it. So one has to take part in the rite in order to have an experiment through the actor. The actors dance in For Louis de Funès, which is an essay, a monologue written by Valerio Marina, and it was adapted to stage by him, translated by Zsófia Rideg into Hungarian, and directed by Adelaide Franu in Budapest and Debrecen in 2016. The figure of the French actor Louis de Funès is a constant reference in Novarina's works, but the sentences and dialogues attributed to him are imaginary ones. During a rehearsal and workshop taken at Kavli University in this room, 2 months before the Hungarian premiere, Novarina explained that while in the painting of the 19th and 20th and 21st century, the construction of the human face, of the human figure, in the work of Picasso, Bacon, Jean-Michel Basquiat, and Souti has already happened, in theater the same process has not been undertaken. His Ars Poetica is to show the proliferation, the multiplicity of human figures the Cubist did. As if in Novarina theater the representation of humankind would be in a way prohibited, being a mere imitation of the truth. The actor Dominique Pinon says in Unknown Act Inconnu, il restera à dire ce qui distingue l'acteur véritable de l'imitateur d'homme. I will show you a marionette scene followed by a dance scene in which the puppet of Louis de Funès takes the role of the actor more vividly than the real actor Mészáros Tibor.
Egyedül ez a szenvedély mozgat bennünket. Kilépni a testből. A háború, a sport, a szerelem, a betegség, az aszkétis, az orgia által. Az ember minden tevékenység, minden lázat elvélyel. Ott vagyunk testet, három nem választani. Nemet és szakmát váltani, állattalani, sőt, kilépni magából, az életből is. Így a színész.
Here you are the actor, he says. And now the dance begins.
élet, hogy ott él az összes emberi rossz elégel.
The dance takes the same function as the sheer logological proliferation and numerical mania in his other performances. For example, in the drama of life, he writes, the action takes place in the Arsman factory, in the Assman factory, in the Aceman factory, in the Raceman factory, so this kind of proliferation. The action takes place in a melodrome that measures 100 meters by 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 100 meters, and so on and so on. The text adapted to stage for of Louis de Funès starts with a call, the theater should not restart, followed by a list like in the classic comedies such as La Maladie Imaginaire, The Imaginary Invalid, or The Marriage of Figaro, with the purpose of leading the public to a hypnotic state, and the actor comes out of the ordinary use of language. Such lists, presented in the form of a litany, have as their goal, according to Guarina, to repeat the names until a whirling drunkenness occurs, instantiating an exorcistic, prophetic, creative use of language that leads to resurrection. For example, this is a picture from Unknown Act, presented at the Avignon Festival in 2007. The dance is a non-dancing, an exhaustive exercise of an awkward body thrown into the world as a human condition. This use of language, as well as the dancing to death, has a role in his actor's training that is similar to that of the physical exercises in Grotowski's method. Such lists and litanies display the elements of medieval French comedy, which are also present in the comic music of Christian Pacu and form a contrast with sacral allusions. This ritual borrows a lot from the discontinued medieval tradition and the breathtaking courage and acrobatics of the world of circus alike. Just one minute from Unknown Act. Oh. Maybe I have already shown some.
J'ai vécu chez Jean Toupin, au boulevard des Gros-Gnotas, au Viva, au Tanata, au Péra, au Bertin. Un jour, un mort, un temps, finalement, de tout, une puissante figure dans la lumière, Rosalie, dans son cercueil, un jour, un mort se relevant, tout seul, dit, où est-ce que j'ai goûté mon pyjama d'un seul coup de pied?
It's completely portrayed in the text in a sacral.
Oh non, mon cercueil dans le cercueil social! Lorsque j'habitais les compagnies de ma mère, j'attendais écoute, si j'étais vieux, au commencement, j'aurais poussé tout le monde en ville, mon père là-dessus, du 7e ciel, et je me permets de rajouter mon grain de sel. Écoute, fils, quand je viens à
actors were creating neologisms and hundreds of metaphors. The actor does not only say things, but acts the annihilation process, the transition from death to resurrection, which constitute the basis of Novarina's dramaturgy in each performance. The puppet of Louis de Funès as his double helps the actor in this process. In the most climactic moment from a dramaturgical point of view, Tibor Mészáros pulls out a puppet to illustrate the doubling of his person. The image of the perfect actor, the marionette, as such, is not unknown for theater history, and it appears in several of Novarina's performances. Among the ones delivered in Hungary, the imaginary operette can be mentioned as an example, where a child of a small family living in a box house is peeping his puppet head out of the wall of his cardboard wall. Tibor Mészáros' work is held by stage assistant drama worker Sándor Horváth. The drama worker is the term Novarina uses, who just like at a rehearsal brings in a sheet or a folding screen as a natural course of events at the right moment, or a candle in this example. The folding screen covered with translucent off-white paper is the main instrument to prompt the obscurance of the actor's person. He is becoming translucent in his imaginary breakthrough. Literally, the actor breaks through the folding screen, becoming a gallantry show, a shadow play. In Novarina theater, the actor's body is the vessel of the soul, while the ego of the actor is a curtain and barrier to be transcended with an act of self-emptying through the language offered to the space and the public. This act helps him or her burn out the body by respiring, see the word French word esprit, as in some saintly practices in Far Eastern culture or psychological and spiritual trainings. Novarina refers to self-emptying of Christ in a text entitled Ashes. Personne c'est ce que vient faire le Christ. La figure humaine, il l'a produite. Il vient non seulement faire l'homme avec nous, mais aussi poser le divin vide sur notre face. Nobody, Christ does this. Christ does nobody. He brings emptiness. He brings the human figure empty, and he takes the divine emptiness on the human face. He puts the divine emptiness on the human face. So I am arriving to the conclusion. All this attention paid to the process of theater making and to the work of the performer is a way of ritualizing performance, states Schechner in his book entitled Ritual and Performance. In a period when authenticity is difficult to define, quote, when public life has been theatricalized, Schechner elaborates, the performer was asked to doff his or her traditional mask to be not an agent of playing or fooling or lying public masquerades, but one who tells the truth. If not this, then at least she or he should show how the masks are put on and taken off, perhaps in that way educating the public to the theatricalized deceptions practiced on them by political leaders and media dons. Instead of mirroring the age, performers were asked to remedy it. The professions taken as models, and frequently enough cited by Grotowski and others, included the priesthood and medicines. says Chapman. Questioning, constructing, and deconstructing anthropobeliefs, Novarina theatre also aims at the resultative aspect of rites. In fact, it also has a liturgical purpose in the above sense of remedy. There is a certain anamorphism in understanding kenotic ritual. In other words, the spectator must have the correct angle. It has the involvement to see a comprehensible form or figure. Compared to the scripted, written rituality, there is a liminoid state of receptivity of the live theatre performance. It has the performed rite. There is a recurrent cognitive metaphor in Novarina's work. Christ is the logos, is the word, and the stage is the place where the words are eaten. It is the place of the Last Supper. The theological approach of Novarina theatre is rather unusual in French theatre criticism. Religion and religious issues encounter so much hatred in France that, as Novarina himself reveals in an interview, he was afraid of publishing one of his texts entitled and cited Song Ashes for Ash Wednesday. In 2007, this text developed the term kenosis. Thank you for your attention.